arises. And I tell people, save your lunch money and come with me next time. I will show you things that will just make the Bible come alive. What better place to study the Bible other than the land of the Bible? It is just fascinating. You know, the rabbis tell us that studying Torah is kind of like looking at a diamond. Now, we can imagine if you look at a diamond, you can look at it and see, depending on the light and the way you're looking at it, different facets. At one point, it may appear to be blue or green. You shift your angle, you shift the light a little bit, and those facets may come off yellow or orange or red. Again, it's just on how you look at it. I know many times it's happened to you, it's happened to me, that you'll be reading the text, you'll be reading something in your Bible, and maybe something in the Spirit or something, and all of a sudden a little light bulb goes off in your head. You go, bing! You said, you know what? I have read that 1,000 times, but I've never seen it like that before. Or the pastor will be preaching something from the pulpit. He'll preach on a passage, and again, that little light bulb will go off, and you'll go, bing! You know what? He's right. I've never seen it like that before. Well, that's one of the enjoyments of being a teacher. Now, I take the text. So I read the text, I study the text, I pray over the text, I try to do the text to the best of my ability. I read books on the text and commentaries. I take my travels and apply that to the text. And I take all this and kind of shake it up in my brain. And when I teach, I try to show you things that maybe you haven't seen before. One of the best things for a teacher, or a preacher for that matter, to do is to look out over the students and then see their eyes just open up, and bing, that light bulb has just gone off. They've had one of those aha moments, and let me tell you, there's nothing greater than that. And it's one of the reasons we do the things that we do, we teachers. Now, I do explain to students that this is not a blank check for you to see things in the text that aren't there. For example, if you see Jesus as a space alien or something from Mars, you'd better get a new diamond because yours is broke. That's not part of the text. You can't see things that aren't there, part of the history. But if you don't understand the history, if you don't understand the culture, you see, you might just see something that's not there. You might think that you're getting a revelation, or somebody will tell you something that seems to be a revelation. But if you don't understand the Bible in its context, you might get fooled. Now, I have been teaching this Jewish root stuff for a very long time. And people will come to me and say, well, Russ, are you Jewish? I say, no, I'm not Jewish, or at least not as far as I know anyway. Again, I'm just a guy that went looking for some answers. Now, I mention this because sometimes people expect me to be Jewish. For example, if we met on a Shabbat, a Friday night, they would think that I would show up with the kippah, the prayer shawl, and lighting Sabbath candles and reciting Jewish prayers. Again, that's not part of my upbringing. It's not part of my culture. So it's not something I normally do. Now, there are other places that I go. I attend classes or services or meetings or different things where they do those things. Not a thing wrong with it. It's the old, when in Rome, do as the Romans. I have a large talit and a small talit. That's a prayer shawl. I have many kippahs that I have purchased on my trips to Israel. I have shofars and menorahs and Hanukkah, tzitzit. I have those things. And if need be, I can participate in those things. I enjoy it very much. But again, I'm not Jewish, and so it's just not something that I'm used to doing. I can teach on those things, but it's just not part of my culture. That's Russ. Russ Wesley. Russ. Yeah, thank you. Oi. Now, another thing I like to point out when I go to speak at a class or a Sunday school class or a church or something like that, usually my first lecture, I have to give my little disclaimer. Now, by that I mean I will tell you that, look, I am a teacher. I'm not a preacher. Now, I know the difference can be subtle, but by this I mean is I don't deal in Bible doctrine. I try to make it a point to stay far away from subjects that we Christians so easily divide over. That's not the idea. I am not coming into a Sunday school class or a church to try to tell anybody their faults. I look at it like this. I won't point out your faults if you won't point out my faults, and I kind of like it that way. The other thing is I try to explain to people or let them know is, I am not here to try to tell you how to run your church or your pastor how to run his church. You know, I have it on pretty good authority that most pastors in most churches have got plenty of people telling them how to run their church. And that's okay, because that frees me up to do what I like to do, and that's teach Bible history. Well, I want to thank you for taking time out of what I'm sure is a busy schedule and listening to me ramble on here for these few minutes. But I hope it gives you an idea of what I am, how I like to teach, some of my style, gives you an idea about who I am. If you'd like me to come speak in your Sunday school class or your church or home group or something like that, please contact me. If you're not at the website, you can go to my website. That's wisdomofagur, A-G-U-R, wisdomofagur.org. There you can contact me. Maybe we can go out and have coffee. We can do lunch together or something. You can find out a bit more about me. I can find out a bit more about you, to see if we're a good match and if it would be a good thing to do for me to come teach in your setting. I like to tell people, have laptop, we'll travel. So if I can be of service, let me know. Until then, shalom, my friends. Shalom Aleichem. It means peace. Peace be